Join us for From Service to Advocacy, the Alex Raby podcast, turning legal challenges into empowered solutions.
Welcome to From Service to Advocacy, the Alex Raby podcast. I'm excited to talk to Alex today, and I'd love to get to know Alex to start off. And I'll just ask the broadest of questions, really. Alex, I know that you practice many different types of law, from family law to personal injury, criminal, and estate planning. Why don't you give us an explanation as to why you decided to really get involved with each of these different types of law?
Well, I always wanted to be a litigator, courtroom litigator, for as long as I've wanted to be an attorney. And these are areas where you get to see the inside of the courtroom a lot. Right? That's the main part of the job, as opposed to being chained to a desk somewhere.
Share with me a particularly challenging case or something to that effect that you've handled where you've gotten a favorable outcome for your clients.
A lot of those people that really need an attorney but can't afford a very expensive attorney or can't afford to spend a lot of money on their case, often they're waiting until the case has been going on for 6, 7, 8 months or more before going to look for an attorney. And obviously that they're trying to economize when they do that. The flip side of it is that the attorney doesn't necessarily have as much time to prepare for that case. So, I've had people come to me and it's 60 days before their trial. They want help, right? So one case that I remember in particular, not mentioning any names, was one of those scenarios. We got involved in a case that was, it was about 60 days out from the trial. It was a third-party custody case. So the client was, she was concerned that she was going to lose custody of her child through the case, which had happened to her before many years previously, about 10 years previously. And then she won custody back after putting her life together and doing various services that you can imagine, such as rehabilitation and things like that. But that was a real concern. There was a third party out there, another family member that was trying to, remove the child from her custody. And so having experienced that before, she was obviously terrified about that. So we were really up against the wall with that one. But fortunately, after about a day and a half of trial, we were able to get the case thrown out. I think it should have been thrown out long before I even got involved in the case. And that was requested by the client, but it was denied by the court. So that's when she came to me. I got involved in the case. We prepared for the trial. I spoke with pretty much everyone she knew in a very short space of time to figure out who we would get to come to court for her, in terms of family members, people from the community, as well as people from the church and things like that. So we put together a good case, and it got thrown out after about, like I said, a day and a half of trial. So that was a particularly good outcome there.
That's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing. I'm glad that there was a good resolution there. But as I hear you saying that, it sounds like obviously there was a lot of work involved with building relationships, not only with her, but with those she knew, and that all leading to a good outcome. So why don't you speak more to what it means to build trust and rapport with your clients as they're facing, I think often, interacting with the legal system for the first time, or like you had mentioned in this example, having a negative interaction prior, that we're navigating a lot of stress and uncertainty as clients going through these types of cases.
Building trust and rapport with a client is one of the most important things you can do as an attorney, because without that, it's hard to do the job. It's hard to deliver the results without that, because all the information you need, or a lot of the information you need, is going to come from your client. So if they don't trust you and you don't have that rapport, you're not going to have the tools that you need to fight the case. So it's really important to listen to the client and also return to them what they've shared to you. So obviously that's part of active listening when you're building that rapport with the client. Yes, you want to take notes, obviously, but you want to take it a step further and then share a summary of what they've told you back to them, at the end of that client call or client meeting. meeting, you could send them an email or send them a longer document saying, hey, these are the issues that we've discussed. Here's my summary of what you said the issues were. Here's my legal advice. Is there anything else that you want to add to that? So it's an interactive process where they're sharing and then you're sharing back to them in form of summary.
You have quite a breadth of expertise, and I'm curious to know perhaps what the common thread is or why you were led towards, we were talking about family law, but you also practice in personal injury, criminal law, and estate planning. What's the common thread there, would you say?
Well, I'd say the common thread, at least between family law and criminal law and personal injury, is that you're in the courtroom fighting, right? You're a courtroom litigator. That's what you're doing. So there's really that transferable skill set between all of those areas. In terms of personal injury law, what drew me to that is the fact that, when someone's life is changed in an accident, the first thing that an insurance company is going to do is intercept them making contact with an attorney. So they'll reach out to the injured person, the victim of the accident, right away, and they'll offer them, a pretty paltry sum of money just to settle the case. I was practicing family law, and then I had people reach out to me just completely by happenstance about injury cases. And I had one client in particular, he's actually passed away now, but he was involved in a major accident. The insurance company contacted him and said, we want to settle the case for $16,000. And he said that he just wanted to contact an attorney to know if he should take the money or not. So I said, absolutely not. Don't do that. Based on what you're describing to me, that case is worth a lot more money. And we're actually in the final stages of that now, of that particular case. And it's going to settle for a lot more. Unfortunately, in that incident, he did pass away before he was able to receive that money, which is the sad part of that story. But it is going to go on through his estate to his children. That's really what brings us to the estate planning side of law as well. These areas are connected in the sense that I just described. When you're dealing with accident claims, when you're dealing with negligence, when you're dealing with people who have been badly injured, sometimes they don't survive the accident itself. Sometimes perhaps another medical condition may take them later. And then in that case, you're left with dealing with their estate. And how do you do that? So having that breadth of practice areas and being able to practice in estates and trusts and that area and wills as well, and also in personal injury, enables you to deal with those kind of cases. Because if you didn't have that other skill set, you wouldn't be able to do those cases. And you wouldn't be able to actually bring a resolution to that family. Obviously, the law is very specialized, right? And it's more specialized today, perhaps, than it was, if you go back 20, 30 years. But there is still those crossover areas where you're going to go from one to another, like a personal injury into estates, or you could be dealing with a family in a domestic case, let's say it's a divorce or custody, and then someone gets accused of something criminal. So that's going to cross over there as well. So a significant part of our practice is dealing with cases or dealing with clients, at least, that are in both camps.
You gave one example of a case that you feel privileged and honored to be working on, even though the injured party has now since passed away. But you had mentioned that he first contacted you just to see if he should take the paltry sum, as you said, what the insurance company was offering him. And so I think about how so often people who have a claim, have some sort of case developing, don't often have any reason to interact with the legal system prior to that. I know that given the length of your career and your experience, you must have come across many different attorneys, different firms even, where reputation and culture are such a big piece of the puzzle for doing good work. I'm curious what your experience, or how you would say the Alexander Raby firm does things differently, or how you work regarding client care and legal representation.
Well, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that. So the main thing that we do to set ourselves apart is try to remain in as close a contact with the client as possible. So for all of my clients, I give them direct access to me via cell phone, via text. whenever they need that. It's not something that every attorney does. Some advise not doing. I like to do it because one of the things that I've seen working with other attorneys, working at other firms, one complaint clients will have is, I couldn't get in contact with my attorney. I didn't know what was going on with my case. I wanted to know. It took them 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. I don't have that problem because they can call me at any time, right? They can call me, they can text me, they can email me, and I'll be able to respond to them. So that's one thing that we try and do with our culture here is remain in very close contact with the client.
Unlike how most people think of it, the average layperson doesn't think of the law as very dynamic or changing or evolving, but lawyers obviously know that it is very up in the air in some things. So what have you done? How do you stay up to date on the latest developments in the legal landscape to help serve your clients best?
Well, that's a great question. Obviously, the law is very dynamic and it does change often. So, for example, just last year in Maryland, I think it was October 2023, the law did change as it pertains to divorce cases, for example. So the grounds for divorce in Maryland completely changed, and we're no longer an at-fault state for divorce. So basically that's sort of acknowledging like the modern trend in divorces that relationships are very complex. Obviously there's certain things that are immoral or are wrong. Adultery might be one of those, for example. But the law isn't going to penalize someone anymore in the divorce process for having been, for example, an adulterer or let's say they abandoned the home or something like that, or they deserted a partner. We're no longer an at-fault state. So it's just separation, 6-month separation is all that's required to get a divorce. You can do it by mutual consent, or you can have what's called irreconcilable differences, which is a very broad term. Basically just translates to we want to get divorced. So it's very simple now. So it is ever changing. And, in this day and age, in the digital era, every resource that is publishing the law in Maryland they're going to tell you, right, that these changes are coming up. This is the new edition of this text. This is the new set of code, and so on and so forth. So, every attorney has access to those updates. What they do with it is really the question. So there's plenty of organizations out there. There's local bar associations, there's state bar associations, there's continuing legal education. All of that is something that most diligent attorneys will be doing regularly to make sure that they stay on top of all of these updates and changes in the law.
What advice would you give individuals seeking legal representation in these many different fields: family law, personal injury, criminal law, or estate planning? I
would say hire slowly and fire quickly. So take the time to consider what attorney is best for you or what firm may be the best fit for you. If possible to meet with that attorney in person, I would say do that. I would say don't hire them out of the first interaction necessarily that you have. We don't ask our clients to do that. We send them follow-up emails and things like that. And if you're not happy with the attorney that you have, if you feel that they've made a mistake, they're not doing something that they should be doing, or they're not in contact with you, get rid of them as soon as you can, because that's usually a bad sign. And there's 40,000 attorneys in Maryland alone. So there's other attorneys out there that you can find pretty quickly. Alex, thank you so much for spending some time with us. This is a great conversation. This has been From Service to Advocacy, the Alex Raby podcast. I'm Sam Henninger. Remember to like, share, and subscribe because we'll continue to have great conversations just like this. Thank you again, Alex.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.